What is up, ladies and gentlemen of the internet? Is your host Ghost here, and I'm joined with,
Specialist?
And Nike.
and you are watching the Tough Shit podcast, where we speak our mind, and if you don't like it, well, tough shit. Today's topics we are talking about cryptids, cryptoids, however you want to say them. Some people say them differently. I always feel stupid when I try to announce it because I never know the exact way to say it. And if you don't know what those are creatures, mythological creatures, fantasy creatures that may or may not exist. We're going to talk about them today, all the different ones that are out there. Maybe not all of them, but a lot of them that we know of.
So there's a bunch.
Um, we'll just talk about them, see what we think, if we believe they're possible, if they're not. So here we go. Let's hop into the biggest one. I think the biggest one that everyone in America knows, not just America, but I think a lot of countries know about it, and that is Bigfoot, Sasquatch, Yetis, um, bipedal monsters with lots of hair and big feet who live in cold areas or the woods. Are they possible? Could they exist? If they do exist, why have we not seen them? Stuff like that. Who wants to start us off here?
I'll go ahead and start off, and I'm just gonna say no, they don't exist.
Okay.
And the reason is, if they did, we would have known by now. We
True.
would have we would have
Yeah.
had known because as the human race, we've been infringing on the forests, the woods, like all that, like especially the rainforests down there, the Amazon and stuff, cutting down trees and all that. And we also do it here in the states, up like the northeast and stuff. Like we would have found them by now. There's
Touche.
no way. There's
Now,
no
is
way.
that Bigfoot and Yeti, or is that just one? Is that just
Uh
Bigfoot?
I just think it's depending on where you're at is what you're gonna get called.
So it's the same
Cause
race, just different
yeah,
environments.
yeah. Because a lot of people say they claim to see them, but then there's no actual real footage or pictures of any of that.
Too.
Yes,
Yep.
there's some really good Photoshop ones out there, but other than that, like no, I don't believe in it. Like I don't believe that there's a Bigfoot unless I get naked and I'm the one walking out the woods. Then someone would say it's
Somebody
Bigfoot.
is a
So
Bigfoot.
You keep them Persian put away.
Yeah, you keep the camera chest up, all right? Don't move.
but yeah, I don't think they're actually out there.
I think I'm gonna agree with you on that though, because yeah, that's the most plausible answer for a Bigfoot. There's just too much human activity nowadays, everywhere. Even their most remote areas are getting disturbed by human activity. So,
Uh,
touche.
yeah, I would agree. Now, I think almost any cryptid or creature of the night, whatever you want to call it, that's on land, I think we would have fucking seen it by now. Most
True.
of it. So,
Who's got the next one? Who wants to bring up the next cryptid? Since I
I'll
brought
bring
up
up.
Bigfoot.
Well, I'll go because to me, I think the biggest one is the Loch Ness monster. So
Loch
I
Okay.
Ness
think
Monster.
I think everyone knows about that one.
Yeah. I
Eh,
don't think more. I think it did at one point. It's
I
just.
think I think it could be a Spinosaurus, still alive.
You mean a plesiosaurus?
The one that
So-
swims
Or
with the
Jurassic Park 3, man. I know what you're talking about.
yeah, that swims and they got the fins.
Yeah.
Because I was actually researching this the other day, which is weird that you brought it up. Not the Loch Ness monster, but it was could these water fish, these water dinosaurs, still exist today? And they said scientifically, if they were to exist, it would be in a place that's less disturbed than others, Scotland, because they don't have all the factories and their lakes and rivers and all that crap. It's pretty natural around there. And they said it would have a lot of fish. The Loch Ness has lots of fish, for plenty of fish for this thing to eat if it was there. But the problem they ran into is problems of breeding. If there is one, there would have to be more than one because there would have to continue to breed for people to continue to be seeing this thing. Um, but who knows? Dinosaurs are a real thing, a very real thing. Um, so who knows? Who really knows if something that big could be under the water?
They say the ocean's still like there's still a huge percentage that hasn't been explored, that's
Oh yeah,
undiscovered. So
it's just
80%.
too deep.
I mean they still find there's still new species being discovered. So I mean I'm not gonna say that not any of these could still be alive, but I'm just like especially like the Loch Ness monster. The size of what they were
Yeah,
talking about.
yeah.
Like no,
Nah,
you would have had there. There would have had to been something by now.
right. Somebody would have caught that bitch on the middle, like on the, especially with all the cameras nowadays. Like,
Yeah.
which has a camera and it's capable of taking high definition videos. So you mean to tell me if it existed and it was notorious for leaving the water, somebody wouldn't have stumbled upon it and just taken a video?
Right.
Especially when you see some people get those pictures or those videos, and I'm like, from back in the day, and I'm like, the camcorder was like this big, and you had to
Right.
like and they're like, yeah, look right there it is, and you can't. All you see is like this little dot, and it's like nowadays everyone's got Androids and smartphones and
HD.
iPhone, and they're just
Yeah,
like,
like-
and they're like, oh, and you could see the pimple on someone's ass if you had to from like 50 yards out with someone's camera.
Yeah, I highly
Right.
doubt it anymore. Like, it's just no way.
I
All
agree
right.
with that. All right, what do you got for us then? What's your cryptid?
The megalodon.
Okay. Megalodon is a real thing. It's not a cryptid.
It is technically a cryptid now, seeing that people believe it exists after it it did go
It
extinct,
did at one point, yes.
but people think it's still alive, and I do believe it's possible. It's possible it could be alive. Not that it is.
I'm just gonna say, out of all the choices of cryptids still being possible, Megalodon is probably the most possible, just because of the fact that I know that giant squids exist and I've seen those things, and
Mhm.
they're remarkable. And I'm like, okay, if those things can exist, then a freaking giant shark can exist. Okay, it
Well,
may not be where we'll see it. It's probably way deep down there where it's gonna need some bigger prey to eat. But
Or it could be like the movie The Meg with Jason Statham. They had that cloud or whatever in the water, but it was like at such a cold temperature, whatever, where they couldn't go through it. I mean, who knows? That could be real. No
Yeah.
one knows.
yeah, but
Because they said I don't even know how far we went down to dive,
I think
but
we.
I know they said there's still like there's
so
crazy,
much. Yeah, dude. There's tons more we can't even get to.
Yeah, I mean, I think it could exist, and they found teeth and shit that's been a lot more recent. Like, it's been dropped. It's not fossilized. It washes up on the beach, and there's a fucking tooth the size of your hand. I mean, I
Yeah.
do possible, but and there's no way. I mean, the ocean's so large. Yeah, there's been a couple fishermen that say they caught a shark that was like 80 foot long, and it ripped the whole fucking rigging off their boat. And they won't come back. They wouldn't go back in the water for like 2 months. Like, they were
Oh,
terrified.
screw that. I wouldn't either if my rigging got ripped off.
like I'm straight. The movie The Meg, dude, when it jumps on that boat and eats the other one, I'm like, no, I'm never going out to the ocean ever again. I'm like, I don't need that in my life. That Meg was like, I don't give a fuck about your boat, dude. They straight did. I'm like, all right, and I respect that, and I'm gonna go ahead and go back to land where my happy ass will be safe.
All right. So since the first two cryptids are rejected, this one we're gonna say approved on. This one possible, plausible.
Plausible.
All right, Megalodon, plausible. Now I've got one for you guys. That's not physical, but people say it's mental based, and this is the Mothman. So Mothman shows up in times of emergency. People see the Mothman. I don't know if you've ever heard this, Santi, but if you're from West Virginia, around there, it's where it's from. So people started seeing the Mothman before that bridge collapsed in West Virginia, like
Yeah.
a couple of days before it happened. They started seeing this weird creature with red eyes and it looked like a moth. People were freaking out and calling each other and whatever. Well, a couple of days later, the bridge collapsed and a bunch of people died or whatever. After that, the Mothman disappeared. So, what if this is a cryptid that is not physical, but mental?
I can see people remembering shit after they've had an adrenaline dump or they've been through something very traumatic. I see that being imposed. Like, if that's what they heard.
But how do you get it before? How do you get the police reports before the accident?
I don't think it was before. I think people imposed that. That came after. So they think they saw something, or their brains put that there to cope with an incident that could have happened, like a bridge collapse. That happened. Mothman showed up at the bridge. But it's funny, nobody reported the Mothman. There's no reports of saying somebody was on the top of the bridge.
Well, no, they didn't say Mothman destroyed the bridge. They're saying he was warning.
I
It was a
know.
warning.
No, I'm actually with Special on this one. Like, if you suffer through something very traumatic, like that, I mean, that's how some personality disorders develop up. It's because you're being abused as a kid in your early life, and you're being molested and all that. Then your body and your brain, you know, they try to build you a defense mechanism. That's why some people, you know, and maybe that's what it did. Maybe it just traumatized, and then maybe one person said it, and then, you know, some of the other people that were there overheard it, and they're like, oh wait, yeah, you know, we did see something, and they're trying to make something false up, and it's just trying maybe to help them cope with it. But yeah, but it says this Mothman incident was seen at Point Pleasant in West Virginia from November 12th of 66 to December 15th of 67. So I mean it's over 50 years ago.
Yep.
And
that's the only reported sightings of it.
Yeah, that's the only thing I'm seeing here on the web is that's the only time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, who knows? Maybe, you know, maybe it could have been like a big, you know, a hawk or something like that, and maybe one or a few people were like, it was something more than what they thought.
No, or an albatross, something huge, which is possible. They're not completely dead, and they used to be big enough to pick up sheep, so I think that's a strong possibility somebody saw something like that and then instantly was like, it's a man, you know?
Yeah. I just find the thing that gets me about that is it's just hard for me to, like you said, it would have to be one person that would have to start the idea, but it's hard for me to wrap my head around all these people having the same circumstance in different situations.
Well, look at Bigfoot, for example. We all agree Bigfoot's not real, right?
Yeah.
But there are thousands of people that go out into the woods and say they saw Bigfoot, right?
Yeah, but this is before Bigfoot. This is like
it doesn't matter.
Internet.
Concept. People haven't changed. It's the way their brains work. They have to feel.
No, that's actually a really good point, because Bigfoot has been around for a long time. And they're saying, and it's from all across the parts of the world, and people still describe Bigfoot the same way.
Yeah, true.
I mean, it's people feel that they need to conform and get along and bond on something. And if somebody's an outcast or they want to go out and see something and they don't see it, they're going to feel the need to lie. Oh, I saw Bigfoot. To justify the reason they went all the way across the United States to fucking find Bigfoot. It's the same thing. Granted, Mothman's different, but they all bonded over a tragedy. That's the way I'm taking the fact that somebody got dumped off the bridge and drowned in their car. You know, like nobody ever wants to go, you remember that time we saw Bob fall out and drown in his car because he couldn't get out? No, they're going to say, remember that big-ass moth on the fucking bridge?
Big-ass moth.
I people create a lie to make things a little better than they are. We all want to think that something's out there that we haven't discovered, but really, we've destroyed our environment.
I got one for you. This is a recent one. A guy in Sweden took pictures, I think it was Sweden, of what he believes are real fairies. I wish I could show you the pictures, but I can't. They look like bugs. They're like literally bug size, but they have like human proportions. It's weird.
Fairies in Sweden. That's what I'm putting in right now.
Yeah, I don't remember if it was Sweden or not. I think it was.
Weird shit, I guarantee you.
He's a photographer and he took pictures of it. I think it was on Kotaku a few days ago.
He's a photographer. Okay, so he's got
I
access.
think no, I think he was a scientist or photographer. I don't remember. It was something like that.
Uh,
Mm.
I think it's a bug. I really do. It could have been a weird ass looking bug.
Well, I mean, fairies that they would be bugs. They would be that size.
So
Try to look really closely at
I know
this
you see them.
picture.
It's like it looks like bugs to me. Like,
Bro, get out of here with that.
doesn't it?
I'm not even gonna try to look that up.
I'm not even gonna.
Justify that as being legit.
Because
I mean, it is. It's a news
it's
story.
so hard. It's so hard.
But they have like human appendages almost, like legs and arms.
It looks like a stick figure with wings,
So a stick bug.
but
No,
like
but they're like human proportion.
they look like the Blair Witch Project when they walk in the woods and like those stick
Oh,
like stick
Yeah, they
things
look
are
like
hanging
that, but they have wings
with wings.
and they fly.
I
That
mean,
fucking weird. I know.
That's called a pixie. That's
I
Well,
mean, don't get me wrong. Like, yeah, from this picture it looked like it, but they could be so small. I mean, because I'm thinking those ones could be antennas instead of the ones that look like arms.
yeah.
Because they look
That's what I
really,
was
really
thinking, too.
thin.
I was
They
thinking that.
might be like antennas or some other word for that in the bug world that I'm
I
not.
think it's just a new bug. I don't think it's pixies, but I think it's a new bug discovery.
yeah,
Whatever it is.
I mean, bugs evolve a lot faster than any biologically. Strong possibility that something just came out of the blue.
But the reason he was making a news point of it is because he was taking the pictures and he said that it was strange that these insects, quotes, would have appendages that look like human appendages,
Yeah, I mean they do though. They sure look like human appendages.
which is weird.
I
So-
mean,
Pixies, we're gonna call plausible. We gonna go.
I guess after that picture, I mean, I'm be like, all right.
I guess you call a bug a pixie. I guess it's plausible, yes.
Pixies / fairies.
I don't think they're going around making magic happen. It could be a bug. Whatever.
Good.
I mean, who knows?
All
Who
right, so-
knows?
We've talked about a few cryptids. Let's talk about the people that contain these cryptids, or used to. I don't know if they do anymore. And that is the rumored Men in Black, the real Men in Black, the ones that people claim don't exist. But we all know that they have to be there somewhere. If they're doing research on UFOs and other stuff, somebody's got to be doing that research, and it's not just the Air Force.
I believe that there was an agency that did cover-ups, or at least a department of the federal government that did a lot of cover-ups, like Area 51. They were probably in charge of keeping tabs on scientists and shit that were working on experimental aircraft. They actually did. They threatened to kill a lot of people for spilling the beans. So, I mean,
And the other reason that I think they exist, for one, is because, okay, I don't know if you boys have ever heard of this. There's a word called spontaneous human combustion, okay? And it's happened very rarely in life, but it has happened. And one of the very first people to look into this is the supposed MIB, because they've had what I don't remember when it was. It was like way back in the day, where they had their very first spontaneous human combustion, where a human being just turned to ash for no reason.
I think it was the 1950s, somewhere in that area.
Yeah.
There was a lady that was. Well, actually, no, I did watch an article on that recently about a woman that pretty much lived at home by herself, and the landlord came in to open up her door, noticed that the doorknob was hot, and was like, okay, I'm going to go call the fire department or the cops or 911. They came in, first responders. The only thing that was left of her was a pile of ash.
Mm-hmm.
But who knows? And it's not like she moved either. like she was in stationary one spot.
No, they say it happens. It's just they don't know. We don't understand why it happens. It just happens.
Well,
That's nuts.
on that one.
That's absolutely nuts. Human spontaneous combustion. A
So
word I
where-
never knew existed, but it's nuts.
Whereabouts do you think Men in Black fit into that?
Because from what my understanding is, once that happened in the 1940s or 50s or 30s, I don't remember when it was, a long time ago, when the first case of that happened, they made a team to study it. And that's the first team that became what my understanding of what started the Men in Black. From there, they went on to cover up and, Roswell, and we've got other incidents, Area 51, and we've got other things. Reptilians, if you've ever heard of them or if you don't believe in them, they are supposedly a threat that they've been dealing with. So that ties into it somewhere.
Yeah, it sounds like some scrolls and Secret War bullshit right there.
Well, if you think about it, it's not impossible,
No,
and not in this universe.
I think, like I said, they did a lot of government cover-ups for a lot of shady shit that they did, which they did a lot of shady shit. They still currently do a lot of shady shit. I mean, in the 1942 or 3, the government ended up putting fungus through the air to test what a bionuclear disaster how it would affect the city, and they found out that we had poor defenses against that, and it ended up causing 3 people to go into cardiac arrest out of whole New York City. Or, I mean, they've done some shady shit. MK Ultra.
Actually, yeah, I was gonna say save that. We'll save that for next week. We'll talk about the shady projects of the government next week.
But
We'll save that.
regardless, I believe people just gave them a title. However, they're still federal government employees. They still did all that shit, and they were covered. I mean, they would go in there and wipe people's shit.
Well, and that's why they're called the Men in Black, because they didn't want to have identifiable anything that could identify them to any government. So are they? Do you think they were free roam or were they U.S. exclusive? Did they work for any government?
I think they were part of the U.S. government. I think that's who created them, and I mean, I'm sure other countries have their own version. I mean, the KGB for Russia, for one. I mean, they went in there and fucking snatched people up, and you never saw them again. We did that. I mean, I don't think they were as weird, and I don't believe all the fucking hype about them hiding aliens in Area 51 and shit. Like, I doubt it. If they can travel across, I'm going off topic, but if they can travel across the fucking galaxy in a lifespan, how the hell did we get one? Because they're like gods. Like at this point, they would fucking destroy.
Because they make mistakes. They make mistakes like we do, and they crash sometimes, and we pick up the pieces.
Well,
asteroid at light speed, and he crashes into the Earth. I don't think it would cause enough damage for it to not be.
I'm gonna say though, the 2 UFOs I've ever seen in my life have not moved like anything I've ever seen in my life. So if they can defy gravity, if anything in this world can defy gravity, I guarantee you is a UFO. Because the 2 that I've seen don't even go in straight lines. It'll go sideways, and then it'll go up and down, and then it'll go back sideways. Like there's no, like where it's not like a plane where you're doing this or you're doing this. It goes. It doesn't matter what. It doesn't matter what the gravitational plane or pole is. It's going to defy it. That's why I don't think it matters.
See, now my view on it is totally different. I believe in extraterrestrial beings and aliens, but I don't think it's built like how we've built it up as a society.
I'm just saying
all the sci-fi.
I'm just saying from the 2 that I've seen personally, that I've put my eyes on and seen, that's how they moved. They go up and down.
So you actually saw the ship and everything?
It was a bright light, and it spun like this, It was just picture a ball of light like this, not that small, but you know what I'm saying in the sky it was about that small.
Huge stuff.
And it was a ball of light. It starts spinning like this, and then it goes up like this, still spinning, and then it goes up, and then it went sideways, still spinning, and then it started going like this, and it just went freaking everywhere, like left, right, sideways, up and down, and then gone. Flash of light, it was gone, just like that.
Have you ever seen the movie Arrival? Anybody?
No, I haven't.
You ever seen that movie? Essentially, it's not really.
Bless
Bless
you.
you.
That's you.
It's not really space travel as much as it's interdimensional. So, I believe that may be how.
Are you talking about Arrival with Jeremy Renner?
Yeah,
Hawkeye?
yeah. I believe because what they did is they just showed up out of the blue. So, I mean, and
Well,
they
yeah,
don't.
that's what's gonna happen. It's just they're just gonna show up.
But I don't believe they fly through the sky like that. Per
They
se.
do.
Could have been a probe, but I don't think they would even come down here if they didn't have to, because we're some evil motherfuckers as far as the race goes.
Yeah, but we already know they've influenced us somewhat. Well, we believe they've influenced us somewhat. I mean, in the pyramid times and ancient civilizations. What, you think we could have got through that stuff ourselves? No,
Yeah, dude.
no.
I think that if you don't, I mean, it's not that complicated.
Humans
Make a fully-
humans have two instincts. Survival is number one, okay?
Okay.
And survival of yourself is number two. Survival of you and your family is number one. So then survival of yourself is number two. That's all human beings, when you break it down, care about.
Okay.
They will do anything for those two factors.
Say you're presented with a problem, right? Without understanding basic, well, anything really, you can still figure shit out. It's not that hard. Now, I mean, once you hit a time in your society where you don't have to look for food, you don't have, because you farm, which is a big thing.
I know, but I'm saying, where will we have, if our two factors are survival, human beings before we learned how to cooperate, which I don't even know when that happened, because I really don't know.
We
But-
need to communicate to
Well,
survive.
what have happened?
Oh, no. I think from the beginning, humans cooperated. Because as humans, you need to interact. You need communication. If you're by yourself for that whole time, you're going to go insane.
Yeah.
You're going to go insane. We are a very social creature. We are very sociable. We have to be mingling or doing something with someone. Like, granted, people like their time alone, but no, like, we are very sociable people. Or
Right.
as a race, we're very sociable.
Right, but what I'm trying to say is, when did that take into effect? Because I mean, as human beings, when we first would have tried to congregate, it would have been violent. Period. We would have been violent from the get-go. That's just human nature, and that's what I'm saying. How long would it have taken them? Would we have been on the same path? Like, that's what I'm trying to say is, did we get intervention to get us to cooperate early, to
No.
get us to the point we are now?
We're not cooperating still. We still go overseas and murder.
Hold on. We are cooperating a lot more than we did in primitive times. That's what I'm making the comparison to.
Necessity. Because we have weapons that can wipe a whole fucking continent off the face of the earth. That's why you cooperate. You don't have a choice, because if you don't, we're dead. Everything is influenced by survival. You're right. However, thinking that we're stupid when we can watch what we evolved from, supposedly, pick up a fucking stick and spearfish. You know what I mean? Like, they figured that shit out, and they've been alone in the woods by themselves without outside influence. We're not as stupid as we look. It may take time.
No, they wouldn't have had, because monkeys learn from us in zoos and other areas, rescue parks and all sorts of stuff.
This was out in the wild. It was in a
Yeah,
way.
that's what they say. But if they're taking care of the monkey, then they're teaching it something.
They're not taking care of the monkey. He was at the top.
But
Look up the arm.
But for that aspect, I don't think, like, when you talk about the pyramids and stuff, no. I honestly think, yes, the people built that. just like the Great Wall of China, it took years, like hundreds. I think it took like hundreds of years for the Great Wall. And they said as people died, they just buried them in the wall. They just threw them in the wall and they buried them. And I was like, yeah, that's just like how it was. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, it's some pretty crazy stuff with like the pyramid, especially with the big old like rock bricks that they had that were thousands of pounds. But yeah, we're very like people engineers. That's the perfect way to go. The ingenuity that some people have is insane. Like the way they can come up with stuff. Like you'll see like on Facebook, you're scrolling through and they'll be like, "Oh, this dude's made something." You're like, "Dang, that dude came up," or not just a dude, but like even a woman. Just clarify, I'm not trying to be sexist, but like it's crazy what some people can come up with. Like look at where we were at 100 years ago in 1920, and look at where we're at. That was 100 years.
Yeah.
But then look at the 100 years before that. It was still a huge change. Like 1820 to 1920, that's a huge change. 1920. Just imagine where we're going to be in what is it? 2120. It's going to be crazy.
I don't know. It seems like we slowed down.
Just you or us have the aptitude to build something or engineer something that's astronomically going to change the world doesn't mean somebody else can't. You know what I mean? People are designed differently for a reason. We wouldn't progress as a civilization if we all thought the same shit.
I mean, yeah, like even like look at video games. Look how video games looked 10 years ago and look how they look now. Are you kidding me with that?
Yeah.
I remember we were back on like 16 bits, and slowly move across the screen. Now, like you look at Last of Us, and you're like, damn, that's gorgeous.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, but like I said, I'm not saying that UFOs ain't out there.
Right? Yeah,
they are. I don't even know if they've even came and visited yet, because I don't think. Like I said, I don't think the way we've built up UFOs, as a lot of people think, is the green alien with big black eyes in a circular ship and all that. Not saying that can't be true, because I'm saying just like look at our planet, look how diverse we are with the people and animals and all that. But I'm just, it's one of those things. Like I feel like we would have known by now. Like they would have made a mistake and then would have crashed a ship in like to Mount Rushmore or something, and we would have known about it. Because someone's whipping out that phone.
Or like Roswell, for example. People are freaking out about that. Oh, there's Roswell incident. You know what could have happened? A fucking plane crash with a nuke. And they're like, oh, fuck. Lock that bitch down so nobody gets it. You know what I mean? And that's happened. Fucking planes have crashed with nukes. Because back then, there was always at least, 3 planes in the air with a nuke?
I don't remember. I don't know.
Like, it was literally in the air for that reason. So, I mean, we do our own shady shit. We don't need to create some other fucking...
More shady shit.
Yeah. It's
all right, guys. We're running a little long there, but that is our show. I hope you guys enjoyed it. We talked about cryptids, talked about the Men in Black. We got a little bit off topic with aliens again this week.
Always do.
Always aliens, guys. So next week, stay tuned here on Tough Shit. We're gonna be talking about government experiments next week, and I think we're probably gonna talk about a little bit more about aliens because it always seems to slip up in there. So like, subscribe, and share. Keep it here on Laugh Your Brains Out. I've been your host, Ghost, joined with
Specialist
and Nike.
And until next time, guys, adios.
Adios.